there was people crying in their beds. Surely to God, and I know things are tight at the moment, but surely 200,000 or 300,000 to the care and attention that a 70, an 80, and 90-year-old person deserves better than that. And I'm telling you now, boys, ask the minister, dictate to the minister, tell him to keep this hospital open, because we'll be on his back and on your back if he doesn't do it. Thank you very much.
Abbeyleix Hospital was kept open in poorer times than what we have today. The nuns here kept it open for the people of Abbeyleix. And if the government wants to close it, it's absolutely unnecessary to close Abbeyleix Hospital. Talking on behalf of the old people that's lying down in that hospital up there today, where are they going to go? In the name of God, keep Abbeyleix Hospital open for the poor people. It has been done in worse times.
My name is Annie Malone, and my brother Michael has been a resident in Abbeyleix Hospital for the last 12 years. Michael is not an elderly person. From repeated case studies and management meetings with staff over the years, they decided 6 months ago that there was no other suitable accommodation for Mike. Now, Mike is very happy in Abbeyleix, and he's had the best of care in Abbeyleix, and it's his home. Now, are you saying to me right now that you're condemning Michael to go to a nursing home? Because that's what his option is. Abbeyleix has become my brother's home for the last 12 years. And if you don't reverse this decision tonight, you're actually condemning a 45-year-old to go and live in a nursing home with people who are in advanced stages of dementia and other disabilities that come with old age. And it's just not good enough.
This is the first closure of an elderly nursing home facility in Ireland on financial grounds. It has never happened before Abbeyleix. And Abbeyleix has to take a stand for Abbeyleix, but Abbeyleix has to take a stand for the elderly people of Ireland, so they're not shoved out on the money grounds from here on.
I was thrilled my father got into Abbeyleix. I've never seen him so happy. I will compliment the staff in every way. They never rang me in 7 years to say, Mary, come in and sit with my father, he's agitated. They never lifted a phone and said, Mary, we can't help you. Come in here and do this, that or the other. The staff in Abbeyleix are out on their own, and I think it's disgraceful the way things are happening. We have to get behind it and keep those residents happy. They're the important ones. Please, Minister Flanagan, and all the rest of your colleagues, I'd love to see you come down to Abbeyleix and see the broken-hearted of elderly people there because of a stupid decision was made. I'm very sure all the old people pay their taxes. They worked hard. God, can we not look after them in their last few years of life? Please support these hospitals.
At a lengthy and heated meeting, residents of Abbeyleix and District made it clear to local politicians the community cannot afford to lose their hospital. They spoke of the care their family members receive at the unit and anger in the way people are being treated since the announcement was made. Sisters Anne and Sheila Paisley's uncle Jack lives in the community nursing unit, and they say he's very happy there.
They know if he goes down the hall, they're able to know where he's going, and they'll bring him back. And he'll bring him into his ward and he'll look around, and when he sees the focused in, he knows where he is.
And are you worried now if he has moved?
Yeah,
worried. Because Jack is a sort of a person that he frets for nothing. And once he knows he's there, he's very happy. And he knows the familiar faces. And when we go in of a Saturday night, he'd look and he'd just say, where are you going? And we'd say, we come over to see you. God and nurses are fantastic here, he'd say. I'm looked after at the best. And he is, I'll have to say that.
And he was over in Portlaoise about a fortnight ago for a night and a day. And he had a chest infection and a kidney infection. And he went back to Abbeyleix, and when he went in, he sat on the bed and he said, thank God I'm home.
While local TD Charlie Flanagan has accused the HSE of handling the situation badly, he denies residents will be thrown out of the facility.
Eviction is a very emotive term in Irish history, and I would not, as a public representative, be able to stand over anybody being evicted from a state-run facility in County Laois. And I would hope that in the course of whatever discussions take place, that people would appreciate the fact that there are elderly people involved, there are families involved, and this issue must be handled in an appropriately sensitive and delicate way. Anything less will be a gross disservice to people who serve this community well and who are now no longer, because of their advancing years, no longer in a position to live independent of state care.
However, Labour Senator John Whelan says it is eviction of the highest order.
Marty Rowan, who was a former chairman of the Midland Health Board, and a good one he was when Dennis Doherty was the chief executive, he likened it to an eviction. You know, I don't disagree with that. And that's what we're looking at here. 70, 80 and 90-year-old people now in fear of waking up the next day as to where they might be forced or coerced into moving to. So the reality is, under law and in law, they cannot be moved without their consent or the consent of their families. So the reality is they don't want to move. It makes no sense. The HSE are looking, this is a book balancing exercise. It's not based on clinical care, on health and safety, or on health services. It's a simple matter. The HSE has a 7 million overrun on its budget in the Midlands, and it's now looking for a soft target, and it's picking on old people. But I think they've picked the wrong fight, because the people of Abbeyleix and the entire surrounding area made it very clear tonight. There's surely 1,000 people in that hall there tonight. They're very reasonable, they're very sensible, but it makes no sense, because the HSE are maintaining that it costs €1,800 a week to sustain a patient or a client in the Abbeyleix District Hospital, and they're saying it costs half as much to do so in a private nursing home. But the reality is, the reason those costs are in place is because they've closed down half the beds. And there's no doubt in my mind, but the HSE are pushing people into private nursing homes who don't want to go there, and it has to stop. We cannot balance the books at the expense of elderly people who have given their lives to this country.
The message is clear from the people in the locality. They are not for moving, with some suggesting patients' families should simply refuse to allow them be moved.
Mary White.
Shockwave went through Abbeyleix on Wednesday when we were told the hospital was going to close. It was like being told that a dear family friend had just died. But one question I would like asked: surely all families who have patients in the hospital will have to agree for the patients to be moved elsewhere. What happens if the family members disagree that the patient should be moved? That's a question I would like to ask, because I think it's a hugely important question that needs asking.
When I was up in the nursing home, one elderly woman caught me by the arm and squeezed my arm, and she said, "Whatever you do, don't let him take us out of here," right? And she started crying. That's how important it is to her. My advice to the relatives is sign nothing, cooperate with nothing, and don't cooperate in any way with any move. There's a number of parts. You have to look at this. What kind of weapons are available to you here? What pressure points have we got where we can put unbearable pressure on the HSE and on the Minister? Right? And just saying that as it is. You know, we raised it the other day in the Dáil, and in fairness, you know, the three of us made the best, myself and Sean Fleming and Charlie Flanagan, I suppose, made the best fist we could in the short time that we had. But we have to use everything. We have to use the Dáil. We have to also use the policy of non-cooperation. The staff and the unions also have a job to do here. We should not raise the white flag over the hospital and start cooperating.
The Abbeyleix and District Hospital Action Committee has now been formed, and Secretary Karen Shields says it's up to the community to support those affected.
When he was actually asked when will this hospital close, he said there's no timeline on this. It will depend on the individual decision of the residents and their families. So all we have to do, and there's a huge number of people here tonight, the only thing we have to concentrate on is not talking about budgets or costs. It's about getting behind the families and the residents of this hospital. Some of them that are very, very elderly. My mother's actually a nurse that works in this hospital. It's not about the staff, it's not the issue. They will be redeployed, they'll be fine, their families will be fine. It's the residents that are actually in the hospital. We have to get behind them, and I think if they refuse to go, there is nothing that the HSE can do about it.
Politicians across the political divide banded together in their outrage against the closure last week, and this week local people left them with no doubt that their political lives lie on the future of Abbeyleix Hospital.
My name is Gary O'Keefe. I want to point out that we have form in situations like this. We have form of sticking together. Last Saturday night we won a competition called Pride of Place, where I think something like 23 organisations in Abbeyleix alone got together and banded together, and we were outstanding in our show of force of how we stick together. So that's the first thing. We are definitely going to stick together. We want to learn walking out of here that you want to be watching for every sign that of you going to be needed to stick together. Deputy Flanagan, you were asked to resign. I don't want you to resign at all. Nobody does. But we want you to do something. Not talk about the possibility of anybody moving, because there is no possibility going to be accepted. Sean Fleming up there said that there's only one question, and the question is, when are you going to reverse the decision? So take that message back. This is not going to go away. We stood together in 2000 when we asked Bord na Móna in an absolutely unturnable decision to give us a natural immunity. That was an easy fight. They gave us a piece of bog, which we're delighted to have. But this is not an easy fight. This is about people. This is about our pride in those people and about our wish to keep those people here and to keep the beating heart for those old people here. So Deputy Flanagan, please take that back as our single representative in government. Take it back and don't be confused that anything else is acceptable except one question. Not 50, not 10, not 5 or not 500. Reverse that decision. Get it done.